Hey everybody, Keisha here, and today I am here with my friend
Jennifer Guskin,
and we need your help. We are right now working on advocacy for combating human trafficking, and here's why. So we'll give you a little bit of background of our story and why we're doing what we're doing.
I was adopted as an infant by a couple who sold me throughout my childhood. I have been to Epstein Island and on multiple Lolita Express types of flights as a child. After I went public, Child Protective Services opened a substance-exposed newborn case, even though all tests came back negative, and they told me that if I wouldn't stop posting on social media, I would never see my daughter again. I started to connect how I was adopted as an infant and then sold throughout my childhood, how many other children who have been through the adoption, foster, and CPS pipelines have also been trafficked to Epstein's Elk.
And as many of you guys know already, based on the work that we do at the Keras Project, I'm an American Indian born in Canada under the Jay Treaty. My father and I were exposed in the improper contagion mitigation for the COVID pandemic in early 2020. As a result of this, I lost everything: a house, cars, corporate assets, jobs. Bank accounts were shut down in Canada, and I fled to the US as an American Indian, fully documented, and was trafficked by rogue agents in ICE and other agents in the government, and forced to live with single American men. I was even imprisoned for 7 months initially, and then trafficked throughout the states. Put on full surveillance tracking and wasn't allowed to leave the city house or state without permission or work without permission. And that happened for many years, and I was on and off the streets because of that, and in and out of shelters. And that is just a small example of what many go through in this trafficking system, be it the family courts or otherwise. So that's why the Keras Project will be going to DC to speak with representatives and do live reporting. We're also going to be in contact with other families who are dealing with human trafficking, and through the CPS courts or through any other means, lesser versions of trafficking, and doing reporting on them live and otherwise. We will also be working on, we ultimately want to shine light on what's going on with the trafficking here in the US. And we also want to meet with various agencies in DC, and we'll be going back and forth for training sessions and other things so that we can be better equipped to help people deal with resolving some of the issues that we're seeing. We will also be putting forth petitions in government to help people get justice, and that's something that we have been working on already so far. We have some petitions that have recently been filed in the state of Colorado, Michigan, Texas, and Arizona, and we will be continuing.
But we can't do this on our own. We will be traveling to events and training courses, as well as DC on a consistent basis. We also have to get acceptable equipment, such as computers, cameras, interview gear, etc. There will be other miscellaneous costs that would also be like gas, food, and rooms if necessary.
So that is why we are working towards combating human trafficking, and that is exactly why we need your help. We cannot do this alone, and most what the Keras Project does is on its own dime. And so we do love and appreciate each and every one of you that support us and all the work that we do. As many of you know, we also live stream on Lindell TV every day. And everything we do, like I said, is on our own dime. So we appreciate all the love and support and all the people who do donate. And we would very much love and appreciate that still. Thank you everybody for your time and considerations, and thank you for all the support, and we will catch you guys in the next one, and hopefully we might see you guys in the future and come across you and maybe be able to do some great things together.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Keras Project podcast. And we are here to discuss a little bit about what is going on. And Keisha, we'll let you just talk a little bit about what we're going to do here today with life not being fair. That's really the topic.
What? What did you say?
I said just introduce yourself again. we haven't heard from you for a while. They said we're going to be talking about our what's going on with us, about the world not being fair and the government's involvement in it.
Hey guys, what's good in the proverbial hood, my G's, my friends, whatever, what have you. Yeah, I've been in New York. I had a speaking engagement, was panelist at the BK Art Fest in Brooklyn, and now I'm back and I'm better. Something like that. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about some stuff. Honestly, I hate the state of America. I'm so annoyed, as you guys can tell. I'm just so sick of even having the discussion. I'm annoyed. Like, I don't even know what to say anymore. I'm just really like, I'm actually PO'd. Like, I'm cheesed. I'm trying to mind my tongue because we're a family channel, but I'm very upset. I don't know. Like, I'm just annoyed. I don't know what else to say. So, yeah, whatever. Let's get into it.
All right, here we come. All right, so we're gonna pull up some clips here, and we're gonna start looking at some of the issues of what's going on. We had obviously some technical difficulties. I'm gonna have to do some editing, but let's pull this off. We're gonna listen to we're gonna listen to Trump first, and then we're gonna listen to Carney, and then we're gonna start going into some things here.
To who?
We're gonna listen to Trump because he slapped some
No, after that, I heard that part. The second part.
Mark Carney, the yes, his response to Trump after getting slapped down with some tariffs today. So let's look at that.
This is the beginning of Liberation Day in America. What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at, and we go to 25%.
As you stated, we've prepared for your attention a proclamation imposing a 25% tariff on foreign-made cars and light trucks. This is in addition to tariffs that are already in place on those goods. In addition to, as you said, spurring increased domestic manufacture of cars and trucks, we expect that these tariffs will result in over $100 billion of new annual revenue to the United States of America in tariff revenue.
Sucks to suck.
Yeah, well, Canada got some tariffs down there, and so forth, and they knew it was coming. And we're going to sit down and see what's happening here, because now we're going to hear what Mark Carney has to say in response to this. So let's see.
Forestry, aerospace, automobiles, and beyond. During the course of that meeting, President Trump announced 25% tariffs against our auto industry. And this is a direct attack, to be clear, a direct attack on the very workers that I stood in front of, uniform workers I stood in front of this morning at the Ambassador Bridge, a bridge that is a symbol and a reality up until now of the tight ties between our two countries, ties of kinship, ties of commerce, ties that are in the process of being broken. We will defend our workers. We will defend our companies. We will defend our country, and we will defend it together. Les États-Unis.
All right. Well, he says he's going to defend stuff. Well, I'll tell you right now, I can't trust that man farther than I could throw him, right? Or, spit into the wind, right? This guy's terrible. But let's listen to what he was talking about defending, because he certainly ain't defending nobody but himself. But let's go back and start looking back at a couple of things here, because his predecessor, Justin Trudeau, made a bunch of changes before he got into government. Well, let's hear something about what Trudeau was up to before he left office.
In Canada profiting off of the fentanyl crisis. Could this be the reason why the Trudeau government has been so hesitant to lock down the border and stop the flow of illegal fentanyl into the United States, because they're profiting off of it and they are facilitating it? Stop me if you've heard this before. This is unbelievable. David Creighton is joining us now, independent journalist out of Ottawa who writes at the Post Millennial. David, this is an unbelievable story. Can you help us unpack what this means?
Phenomenal, Clayton. And as I described it, mind-boggling. I don't know what else to say, because here we have evidence that Sam Cooper has unearthed, and Sam has done some marvelous investigative work on Chinese interference in Canadian elections and politics. And he's come out and said that the Liberal Party is a prime recipient of donations from the drug kingpins, the fentanyl kingpins, who are making this noxious, toxic drug in Canada at super meth labs, super fentanyl labs, and exporting it, yes, south of the border and elsewhere. It's phenomenal because this implicates the RCMP, the much vaunted, some people think the greatest police force in the world, as implicitly involved in this. With CSIS turning a blind eye to this, with government agencies refusing to acknowledge that Canada is integral to the fentanyl problem, because it's not just that we have these labs set up in the Rocky Mountains of British Columbia. We have been importing fentanyl, the precursors to fentanyl. For those listeners or viewers who aren't aware of that, these are the chemicals that are needed to essentially be refined or distilled into the final fentanyl product that makes it onto the street.
So there you have it. The Trudeau government is involved in drug trafficking, getting money from cartel members that are influencing the government. The RCMP is involved. The Canadian Security Intelligence Service is involved. You've got all of these government agencies involved in drug trafficking in Canada, bringing in a lot of it. And in Trudeau, where he was a drama teacher for a long time in Vancouver, let's go back and look at what his policies has done since he's been taking money from these drug traffickers. So this is what Justin Trudeau has been doing with this. He's taking money from these people. And this is completely unacceptable. This is government policy. Justin Trudeau is taking money from cartel members and so forth, and this is the end result. People are getting murdered as a result of his policies and the influence that he has. And I did a podcast previously talking about the foreign interference and how much China's interference has been in Canada and the foreign influence and so forth. Well, where do you think a lot of this fentanyl is coming from? Right? This is absolutely out of control. The government should never be involved in this. And then Trudeau steps down and brings in Carney, an unelected person, to come in and have a snap election to go back and did what he did before. Beijing was talking about all the foreign influence and so forth and controlling Canadian politicians. And like they said, CSIS has been turning a blind eye while the Royal Canadian Mounted Police are extensively involved in trafficking. Keisha, thoughts?
I mean, I'm irritated because it's like we've been saying this for like a long time. So it's like to me, it's like, what the heck? Like, honestly, I don't even know what to say. Like, we've been saying this for a long time. It's like now other people are going to be like, oh yeah, this is the case. So like, what now? You're going to do something about it after the fact? Like, how many times are you going to continue this stupid pattern and cycle? So many people are genuinely retarded. Like, people are genuinely retarded. Like I was saying on our stream the other day, where in the movie that Thunder, you know, that stupid movie, that parody movie, I don't know. And he was like, you never go full retard. And the guy, he went full retard. Robert Downey Jr. was telling the other guy, everybody is like full retard. Like, it's like they don't think. And at this point, it's like, to me, my irritation just gives me like the sign that this is why women are not supposed to deal with like things like the solution for these things, because I get irritated and I'm just like off it. I'm just like, I don't care, because we've been literally screaming this from the rooftops for years. And now, like, look at all this filth. Like, and the fact that Trudeau, he's just going to get away with this because nobody's going to do anything about it. What the US is going to be like, oh, I'm going to drop some more tariffs on you. You really think people care? Like, and no disrespect to Trump, but you really think that a tariff is going to stop them from killing people, or like what they're doing and how it's affecting the US? Like, I'm so tired. I don't care anymore. I'm so exhausted. Like, I'm angry. Like, I don't want to sound like a D-bag, but like, honestly, like, at what point then it's your own incompetence and stupidity as well, letting it, because they're going to just let Canada do whatever stupidity, like, whatever, man, whatever. And then people are going to have the audacity to come on and talk about like this stuff last minute, like all this time later, when after the fact, when it's already like so many problems happening. Like, what is wrong with you? What is actually wrong with you? And then they're going to put stupid idiots up to talk about it who don't even have the whole circumstance of all the, like, forget it, man.
Yes, I get it. Like, we've been saying this, but people are going to start to see it now because, I mean, it's coming more.
We're talking about the end result. They're not even saying how. They're not even saying the circumstances. They're talking about the end result. They're talking about after the fact. They don't even have all the details. And they're here talking nonsense.
Yes. And now let's look at the effects of the educational system, talking to some people during spring break.
Who did the colonists fight in the Revolutionary War?
Oh, God. In the Revolutionary War?
It was, I don't know if this is right. I mean, it sounds so stupid. Was it the Spanish? Wait, what are your majors?
Business. Biology.
Okay. Elementary education. Oh. What shape is the U.S. Pentagon building?
Isn't it just a square?
How many U.S. senators are there?
6, 7. 6, 7. 2 for each state.
How many amendments are in the Bill of Rights?
There's a lot. I know 17.
Who won the Civil War?
Oh shoot, it's East or West, right?
Well, it's the Civil War, so it's the civilians versus whoever was in power.
How many justices are on the Supreme Court?
Justices. So like when you say that, like you mean like the FBI?
Who is on the $100 bill?
Oh, I know that.
Abraham Lincoln?
Nope.
Abraham Lincoln? Come on, bro.
That's the First Amendment. What's the second?
Right to vote?
Name 3 states that border Canada. We'll just do one per person.
Asia.
I didn't know Canada had a border.
That's the Department of Education right there, right? And obviously not every person's coming out like that, but I mean, there should be nobody that doing that kind of stuff. Regardless of the situation, you hear about people that go through school, can't read and all this kind of nonsense. So you know that
Literally.
the Department of Education, they are not doing their job whatsoever. So this is, again, government policy dumbing people down. This is just what it's going on. And then when you sit down and look at this, do you have any comments on what those people had to say?
I'm disgusted. I'm absolutely disgusted that on a world stage, this is what America looks like. This is supposed to be the country that's the bastion of freedom for everybody else around the world, and they're coming to bring their people fleeing tyranny to come to make them retarded. Like I said, everyone's gone full retard, and then you produce this in your schools. And by the way, I was a substitute teacher in different states, and yes, it's gone full retard because people don't know how to spell. They don't know how to read or write. They don't know how to do math, basic math. What kind of country is this? I'm sorry. What kind of country is this? We had more upstanding citizens. We had more excellence in this country when women couldn't vote. We had more excellence in this country like when women were not integrated into things the way that men are. And I'm not saying that, okay, we'll stop voting. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's proof in the pudding. There's honestly, if it's not working anymore, stop. Because at this point, well, what are we doing? And then you're showing the rest of the world how retarded we are? And then we're going to go around saying we're going to do this and that and talk this big talk, and then how are we going to back it? If you're going to talk about it, be about it, don't run your mouth. If you're going to be great in America, then run back on the Department of Education, actually do something serious about it. Actually fix every institution. If you're going to start cutting all these funding from all these places that are inefficient, cut the universities, cut the department, the different schools that are not performing. Honestly. Do something different, because what is the next generation just going to perform so poorly, and then we're going to have America taken over? Be so for real. Think, use your brain, man. And then you have people just talking about stuff that don't mean anything. They're not doing any solution. They're talking about stuff just to talk about it. They don't have solutions. They don't know the beginning or the end, the middle. Forget it.
I hear you. So let's look at this clip of these two girls. We're going to look at a couple of clips, but we're going to look at this first one here of them talking about male and female dominated fields.
How many female dominated industries can you think of that aren't related to sex or beauty?
Not a lot, and that should change.
How do we change that?
Let women take over.
Most female dominated industries are sex or beauty related, correct?
Yes.
That's the way things are right now. That should change.
Well, right, but why would women want to give up their power if they can use it to,
Because it shouldn't be the only power that we're able to hold in society.
Well, whether it should
When you don't give women a fair chance to gain power, they're going to do whatever it takes.
Well, is there anything stopping women from getting power any other way?
Yes, men.
Well, but men also give women their power, correct?
Not enough of it.
If all the men in the world were gay, how would women get power?
Because they're women.
What does that mean?
They're strong and better than men.
Well, right, but I'm saying if women couldn't use sex to control men, then how would they get power?
Skip.
This woman's retarded. This woman is so retarded. She makes me so angry. You know what? I can't stand women like this, because you know what? The waitressing is female dominated. All I hear, I'm a waitress right now. all I hear all day, that's probably also why my anger is more through the roof. I am cool as a cucumber, especially at work. All I hear all day, every day, is women coming in and out from the back, cursing, complaining. I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, really? That's crazy. Wow, that's wild. And all they're doing, cursing, complaining, throwing things like mad for no reason, but because they don't have solutions. You put women who, when they're under pressure, and that's just waitressing, imagine engineering, imagine doctor, and all this other stuff. I'm not saying they're not great female engineers. Maybe there are exceptions. I don't know. I don't care. The exception is not the rule. And you know what? When you put women in a situation where they have to put solutions under duress, they're not going to perform the same way that men do. I get consistently, like all the time, I get so angry, and I'm sad, and then I feel sad, and then I feel bad because I don't have the solution and I can't fix things the way that men can fix things. So then I get angry because then I'm like, I can't think like a man, and I can't operate like a man, and I don't have the physical strength of him, and then I can't do what I need to do, and then I need a man right next to me to actually help me fix it, and I get angry because they're not. The women who are going around doing that do not want to confess that they're just pissed off that they don't have an actual man around them in their vicinity that can fix the problems for them that they know they don't know how to fix. Because when you put all these women together to create these solutions and they're already all pissed off, they just do more stuff that don't make sense. And then they're not giving them more power isn't going to do anything. Women are choosing sex work. Women are choosing beauty industries. They're not choosing engineering. They're not choosing a neuroscience. They're not choosing AI and all this other nonsense, or aerospace and all this stuff. They don't care. And when they do, we saw the doctor the other day who became a neuroscientist. She went to OnlyFans. We saw the lawyer who was a lawyer, a female lawyer. She went to OnlyFans. We saw the doctor, all these different things. They went to OnlyFans. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much pieces of paper you have. You do not think like a man. You do not have the solutions of him. You will never be a man, and you cannot do it. Like, you just cannot do it without men. And women just don't want to accept that reality. They're angry and they're bitter, and they don't want to be vulnerable and confess that they are traumatized and losing their marbles because they are suffering without men near them. And that makes me angry, because the reason that I am suffering in this world is because of women like that who go around trying to convince other people that we believe that we actually can do this. What she's actually saying is, give us all the position with no responsibility, knowing that we cannot do what they're asking us to do, and then just make us delusional in the process and pay us to do, like.
At the end of the day, when she said that men are stopping women from getting to where they need
she's
to
lying.
be, it's
She's
not
lying.
that it can't, because if men stepped out of the way, they wouldn't be able to do it. They can't.
She doesn't have the capacity. She doesn't have the capacity. The other day I was in New York and I was sad about something. I messaged somebody and I was like saying, oh, I feel like I'm going to cry, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, you don't have to cry. Just think of it this way, because it's actually a positive thing, and blah, blah. And explain to me why it was positive. Tell me why I didn't. Do you know how mad I was? I didn't think of that myself. I thought I spent like 30 minutes plus ruminating the whole weekend. I was thinking about, like, before that, the person he even said that to me, I was thinking of all these different things. What he said to me was so simple, but I never thought of it. And I was instantly infuriated because I was like, how come I never come up with these things? Women do not have the capacity of men in situations like that, because I don't know why, and it makes me sad, but it's just life, and it's just, there's nothing that we can do. We're different, and no one can say, oh no, you're just retarded, because you know what? I'm not retarded, but I'm telling you, the solutions that men will come up with will make you feel retarded, and this is why women end up like that, like what she did, because she just doesn't, she doesn't want to humble herself and confess, I need a man. I need a man so that I can be the way that I need to be and be peaceful and be happy and successful. And she doesn't want to humble herself. She just wants to have pride, and then she wants to be delusional so that she can keep doing her delusional and convince other people to do the delusional too. She's it's evil what she's doing.
All right. Let's take a break in here from Mr. Lindell and the My Pillow, and we'll talk about some more after the break. Thank you.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your My Pillow products: mattress topper, bed sheets, My Pillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 My Pillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard My Pillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use My Pillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to mypillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all My Pillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard My Pillows absolutely free.
All right, so anybody who needs the My Pillow products, we have to go to mypillow.com/Karis or call 1-800-845-2942. Use the promo code Karis. You can see other things in the ticker. We have our action plan for people to use. There's other ways to support. There's the donor box, the Give, Send, Go. There's also other links in the description on Rumble and Facebook for other ways that you can get products to support a good cause and to keep the good information coming. So now we're going to come back and we're going to look at these 2 girls again, talking about a couple of other things, and I'll play them, and then Keisha, I'll let you get your comment first, because you're a woman and know this stuff better than me.
Men don't have a say in women's sex life.
Do you think the sexual empowerment of women in any way contributes to their own objectification?
No.
Does the fact that porn and OnlyFans exist prove that women are okay being objectified as long as they're getting paid?
No. It means that we can use our body the way that we want to without men's control.
Do you consider sex work to be real work?
Yes. Yes. And if you don't, you suck.
Why are women more accepting of women who can sell sex, but are less likely to accept a man who can buy it?
Because it's empowering to be able to do what you want with your body when you want to be able to do it.
But isn't that like shaming your own customers?
No.
Well, how can you be a victim of your own product?
Because it's my body. My body, my choice. My body, my choice.
On the left side of a woman's brain, there is nothing right. And on the right side of a woman's brain, there is nothing left.
I like that guy. He's so funny.
No. Yes.
But you know what? This makes me so angry because as a woman, like, the fact that she even said that shows her lack of capacity, because a man would never say, oh, well, me doing sex work just means that I'm empowered to do whatever I want. A man would be like, what's the solution? And he would find a job that would be the solution. He would create the circumstances for a job that's the solution. Do you know what I think in my brain with what, as a woman, even though, like, I am a Christian, I was raised with God and my father, like, which is the only reason why I don't do what comes to my mind. As a female in my position with my level of suffering, all I think to myself is, right now I'm a waitress. And Matt Rife, he made a joke about waitresses just being ugly girls who couldn't become prostitutes. But obviously I'm not ugly, so that's not true. But it didn't matter. But the joke is the joke. The point is, right now I'm a waitress, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't really have much money. It's not really enough. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, the second step to waitressing is bartending. And then after bartending, it's like, okay, well, after bartending, it's just stripping. And in my mind, I mean, that's the natural flow. And then after stripping, it's just prostitution, straight up prostitution. I'm like, I can't make it. I can't go down these steps. However, in my brain, that's all I can think of. And I understand why women go down those processes when they're in my position, because I'm seeing how women get trapped in that process. Now, men don't think like that. A man will be like, I don't know what a man will think, but he always has a solution and he always fixes it. And women don't think like that. Like, we cannot. Women saying that this is empowerment shows her level of incapability and lack of capacity.
The way that they go after you and me are completely different. Completely different.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Because I can see what they're doing. They just take away my ability to do something about it by cutting me off from everything and so forth. But what we're seeing here is what you're describing here. The government policies are actually creating the circumstances for this. Like them not fixing the fentanyl problem, knowing that they're going to have issues, dragging their feet and allowing the tariffs to come on is creating more of the circumstances for people to be impoverished so that women will go into these situations. The school system that have dumbed people down has also contributed to this fact and so forth. And when you look at what the school systems are doing, then now listen to what this woman has to say here.
Well, I also understand then why women back in the day, a lot of them, if they couldn't marry for love, they married for security. And not, I'm talking about the most wealthiest man. No, they just married a man who was going to take care of them and who was going to treat them well, and they didn't care. Because it's like, if the man I love is not going to pay me any mind, then I'm just going to have to marry someone who cares for me, because then I will be a prostitute on the street. I'm starting to see why back in the day it was such a serious thing when women became spinsters, because you were screwed. It's literally a death sentence, because you can't function like what we're doing now. You can't function. Be going into stripping and prostitution, and you can't help yourself as a woman. Like you said, well, what they're doing with the education and everything, like people are being dumbed down. Like even if they weren't, like I said, the neuroscientists, the doctors, and the lawyers are becoming OnlyFans.
Yes, but I'm saying
more money.
It's not even just the fact that they're being dumbed down. It's they're being indoctrinated and they're being groomed.
Yeah.
Listen to this woman here, and just listen to it.
Not to trigger you guys again, but with the 11-year-old thing.
Oh my god.
I had my first job when I was 11 years old. Some people tell me it doesn't count because it was a but
Okay, I don't think we should talk about this topic.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about
That's
that.
right.
You guys are haters.
No,
I think it's
definitely not haters.
Hold on.
Definitely not a hater.
Perfectly
That topic, definitely not a hater.
Wait, hold on.
Haters.
Stop. I think it's perfectly socially acceptable to be like, I think 11 years old is too young to be, even if it's like the same age, too young to be like having sex or doing anything sexual.
Let's talk about now, because the consensual 11-year-old exploring of each other is too much for everyone.
I think you're 25. I don't think that's consensual.
You're saying some crazy shit right now.
That's not even you. That's what's bothering me.
Stop.
Bro, you're being goofy, man. Do you think people believe that? I'm just saying. Whatever, just go on.
Cool. We don't want to talk about your situation when you were 11.
That's crazy. By the way, I just want to clarify, like, I'm not telling people not to marry for love, because you should love the person you marry. Like, that's crazy. Like, don't marry someone just for security. That's ridiculous. I would never do that. I just want to clear that up.
But you're not saying just wait for your ideal man, someone that you're reasonably. Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, you have to be. I'm saying be reasonably matched with someone and love that person. Like I'm just saying, I understood in the past why people were off the wall. What that just did, honestly, Brian, I don't know if that girl's autistic or if she's deaf, but I'm just saying, Brian, like I think he lacks social cue understanding. I don't know if I think he's autistic. He said he was autistic. Yeah, in another stream. Because what's her name? Nala said she was autistic, and Brian, I think Brian said first, and she said, yeah, me too, I'm autistic. So Nala, not me. So I think he lacks understanding in a large way how to approach some of these conversations, because he adds fuel to the fire. He doesn't really know how to reduce the situation. This girl is clearly traumatized. She's talking about a sexual abuse situation. And like everything after that, I saw a few more other clips from that, and it kept escalating and it just got worse. And the way they attacked a woman, if you're the person who's not abused in the situation, you have the higher capacity and you need to deal with it in a better manner. Arguably, his capacity is diminished because he's autistic. So it's like there's a doubly diminished capacity arguing in this format, except she's a sexually traumatized person. So it's like, and he's a man still. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. These are games that I don't like to play. Honestly, I just think it's all stupid. Like, he shouldn't be running that show, to be fair, because he doesn't know how to deal with anything that comes across
one
his
of the
table.
reasons
He
why
just treats it
probably
all
why
like
they
he
have
works in
him.
the same business.
That's probably one of the reasons why they have him there, because he's just going to say things unfiltered because of being autistic.
He's running things. He's running things like you said when people think to themselves, "Oh, if people move the rook or the knight like this, then I have to make this play." When in fact, that's how you get yourself killed. That's how you lose the game, because you have to watch the person in front of you to know how that person is going to respond to things and the patterns and behaviors of the person in front of you. You can't use automated thinking when it comes to like how to deal with things like that, especially when it comes to people. And that's how he deals with things. A plus B equals C. So every time I'm going to put C, when in reality, you might need F sometimes.
That's exactly that. You can't predict everything that somebody's going to do. That's just nonsense.
Yeah, and that's why he fails at all of these things. And ultimately, he just shows how incompetent he is as a man, because a man would be able to deal with the situation appropriately with the person in front of them and pull out the best in the people across from them, even if they're not good. I've watched my dad sit across from literal people who were OnlyFans and other things and pull out the best in them in conversation. And this man, Brian, is sitting here talking with people on a daily consistently and doesn't even know how to talk to people. Like the one girl with the Tamagotchi, that made me so angry. That girl, remember with the Tamagotchi, who said she was feeding him and he went off on her and she said, "My bad, man, it's just boring." First of all, he takes everybody's cell phone at the beginning like he's like the police or something, because I was on there too. And what if there was an emergency or something and you're on there for 8 hours? That girl, I don't know if she's autistic. She seemed autistic. I don't know. Something's wrong with that girl. She fed her Tamagotchi and he went off on her and then made her leave. I'm like, what do you get out of this as a man? She said, "My bad." Sure, she was disrespectful, maybe, but come on. Why don't you have a decent... He felt good scolding her, and he's a man. Like, bro,
Yes,
I don't even...
but he doesn't see things the same way, and this is what happens with autism.
No, yeah, that's true.
And
He's
it creates problems, right? But he still has to
wait a minute. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
It still makes people. He has to understand that he needs to know that he's going to do things that are off base that other people are going to react to. He's got to understand that.
What kills me is it seems like there's just a bunch of autistic people all over the place. Fetal alcohol syndrome, autistic people, and messed and all these type of mentally different people are the ones leading everything. Why are they letting these incapacitated
they're
people?
Easier to control.
It's like the Snow White chick. She looks like she has fetal alcohol syndrome.
This gets worse. Let's listen to this clip here. And this is from
crazy.
People that are running a business that a lot of people hate here in Canada. You're going to start to see why.
Out of all the businesses you guys could buy, why did you guys target buying Pornhub?
Yeah, so we saw an extraordinary opportunity. The fact that it's newsworthy or noteworthy that we've made the acquisition, that should tell you that this is a space that has not had mainstream investment, right? That it's a space, I always said, when we looked at the business, it's a business that's legal. Not only is it legal, but in every Western democracy, it's constitutionally protected. It could not be outlawed, even if you wanted to, but it doesn't have that legitimacy. And one of the reasons for that, and as we started to examine the business further, was that nobody wanted to say we are the owners of a major adult company, right? Everyone, they wanted the benefits of owning a major adult company. It's a profitable business, but nobody wanted to be out front and engaging with other tech businesses, with government, with law enforcement, with regulation in that sort of way that the modern tech industry has to. So we saw in that this arbitrage opportunity, right? Where if people who come from the mainstream professional networks, whether it's law enforcement, tech, finance, et cetera, this is an opportunity to really bring this industry into the 21st century. We saw an extraordinary opportunity to do that with this, this jewel of an asset, Pornhub, but obviously the entire company.
I love it. You said jewel of an asset. So I'm going to give you some stats here that we see. So one, it says 2018, Pornhub alone witnessed a jaw-dropping 5.8 billion hours of content consumption, which, by the way, is kind of strange because most men should only be watching for a minute or two, right? But this is like when you hear 5.8 billion
no,
hours.
Patrick, our average visit is about 10.5 minutes.
They probably got off the computer and they left the website on, but there's a different story there. So that's nearly 665 centuries of material over a single platform in just 1 year. Here's another one for you. The world was flocking to Pornhub in 2018 with a whopping 63,992 new visitors per minute. Is that true? 63,992 new visitors per month.
Doesn't sound unreasonable.
33.5 billion visitors. Insane, right? Mm-hmm. And the most popular day to visit Pornhub is Sunday. You guys got all these different stats. And you even put up a stat recently on which state consumed the least while the election was going on and who was committed to it. So you're also involved in the election stuff that's going on, right? But at the same time, you got a petition. I think something came out that says more than 2.2. Thank you so much, Kelly. More than 2.2 million people have signed an online petition to shut down the site. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that the topic of pornography has always been a divisive one. I think it has to do with the topic of sexuality in general, right? There are always going to be different views about human sexuality, and pornography is just emblematic of those. In fact, it's a little more public. It's more in your face. That's the nature of it. It's sex for the public. So you're going to have people who have really deeply held convictions about the proper place of sex in our society, and that's a good debate. There's nothing wrong with that debate. But you take 2.5 million signatures, we have 130 million daily active users. So people have voted with their mice and with their feet in terms of where they're going to go. But of course, it's going to be a subject of public debate.
All right. So this guy has had his own ideas on what he thinks he should do and so forth, but he's only giving his side of the story. He's not necessarily telling the reason why this is actually what was going on. Right? So let's listen to. You have any thoughts before we go to the next clip?
No.
Yeah, because this guy is not exactly who he thinks he is. He's not exactly what he says he is. So, I mean, people keep in mind of what he said, but I mean, you need to pay attention because he's talking about wanting to do this and pushing this information. Now, this is someone that talks about Pornhub, and she's behind a lot of what's going on to get rid of it, and she'll talk about some of the reasons why.
There was a man named Rocky Shea Franklin in Alabama, and he had drugged and overpowered a 12-year-old boy, and he filmed the assaults of this little boy, and he uploaded 23 of those videos to Pornhub with titles that actually indicated that this was abuse, like, Uncle Secret and Young Ass's Best. I mean, titles that would clearly show that this was abuse. And he verified himself. So he actually showed his ID and they actually apprehended him, and he's in prison for 40 years for what he did. But Pornhub, that globally distributed, police actually went after Pornhub and demanded that they take those videos down, and they were ignored for 7 months while that boy's rape videos were downloaded and uploaded and got hundreds of thousands of views.
So how is it that Pornhub is still up at this point if they've done so much clearly illegal stuff? I mean, it doesn't sound like they're hiding it to that.
Well, the wheels of justice turn slowly. Right. I mean, but they are turning, and thankfully, 91% of the site has been taken down, and they've faced serious repercussions. I mean, the CEO and the COO were forced to resign. The secret majority shareholder was exposed. They're personally being sued. That little boy that I just mentioned, he's now 18, and he's suing the company along with many other victims. And the company was actually sold as a distressed asset because of the repercussions of what's happened. But we're not done yet because we want to see justice fully served. And what that means is, justice to the full extent of the law, both criminally and civilly. And that's so important to be a deterrent to future abusers.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, for these corporate traffickers, is what I call them, it's a risk-benefit calculation for them. And we have to increase risk and then eliminate profitability. And when we do that, we're going to see a transformation of this industry to make the internet a safer place.
Do you see any of the controls that they're putting in as working? I'm in Florida where now I think you have to have an ID to go on some of these sites. that at least provides some protection, I suppose, on the user end. That's not doing anything on the end that you're talking about. But I assume you find some value in some of that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, children are being exploited in front of the screen and they're being exploited behind the screen, and victims are being exploited on both sides for profit, because the business model of free user generated porn is to sell ad impressions. So it's all about traffic. That's what they care about the most, is content and traffic.
Have you guys gone for the advertisers too?
They have no mainstream legitimate advertisers anymore. Nobody will, even KY Jelly is Astroclat will not advertise. I mean, they even had, at one point, they had Kraft Heinz Unilever advertising. They were called out. They stopped. So, they don't have legitimate mainstream advertisers anymore, thank goodness, because that's another repercussion of what's happened. They've lost mainstream business partners. But the business model relies on selling 4.6 billion ad impressions every single day on Pornhub. And that's why they need that traffic. But I think these controls are important because children have free access to the site too, right? Mm-hmm. Where their sex education as young as 8, 9, 10, 11 years old is not just violent, hardcore, legal pornography, but is actually crime scenes that they're witnessing from such a young age that's shaping their sexual template for life, which is really harmful. So the solution at scale for this issue is age and consent verification. So we need age verification for those who are accessing the site, just like, you said Florida has done, Texas has done. Currently, the Supreme Court is hearing and going to decide whether it's okay for states to implement age verification to protect children. Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna kind of wrap up this here soon, because we're gonna get into some more things. But understand that this company is based in Canada. The RCMP are also involved in the trafficking. The ownership of Pornhub has a former RCMP superintendent who was involved in, guess what? The drug trafficking and organized crime. And they have that guy that you saw sitting down there as part of the ownership as well. He's also, I believe he's a criminal lawyer, if I'm not mistaken. But they have a criminal lawyer, investment person, and he's part of the leadership team. And they have a team that is put together to protect assets like this. And with this kind of knowledge, and with the RCMP involved in organized crime and drug trafficking, I don't like this. This needs further investigation, especially with what was going on. And somebody who's a former RCMP couldn't be completely oblivious to what went on, because the drug trafficking and sex trafficking, hand in hand. Anything to say here on this before we...
Everything accumulatively is psychological torture, man. Like, it's like psychological warfare and all sorts of other stuff. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't have the patience for this.
I'm gonna sit down and say that you can sit down and see how that young girl is getting groomed, and how she was at 11 years old going and doing this stuff because of people
That's what
like
I'm saying.
this.
Like, it's a psychological tortures.
Yes, and the government
like everything together, and then you have the people not learning anything in school, and then you have them in the bad job that they can't help themselves. Like, and I'm watching girls crash out all day, every day at work, and I'm
drugs.
why I said the end result, the outcome, the psychological torture,
and flooding
like
drugs.
They're acting, yeah,
destroying the economy and everything else like this. So I'm going to close here with a prayer. If you're watching on Lindell TV, you'll see it tomorrow. The guys on the live stream, just stick around. You're going to hear some more about this. I'll close with a prayer and then give you your final thoughts. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for the hope that you have given us this day. And Lord, I ask of you this day to help the men and the women to stand up together to rebuild their families, their churches, their community, and their nation, that we can stop this evil and the filthy wickedness that the governance is involved in. And Lord, I ask of you this day to bless us and help us that we would stand up and protect the children, is my prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, Dad, for the prayer as always. Yeah, guys, if you're watching on Lindell TV, you'll see the part 2 tomorrow. And if you're watching on another platform, then you will see in a couple minutes, so you can stay tuned. But yeah, we outside, guys. It's crazy out here in these streets. I don't know what else to say. Catch us in the next one. Thanks for your time and considerations, everybody. And to my dearest Karis, until we meet again, my friend, we will. Ciao. Hey everybody, Keisha here, and today I am here with my friend Jennifer Guskin, and we need your help. We are right now working on advocacy for combating human trafficking, and here's why. So we'll give you a little bit of background of our story and why we're doing what we're doing.
I was adopted as an infant by a couple who sold me throughout my childhood. I have been to Epstein Island and on multiple Lolita Express types of flights as a child. After I went public, Child Protective Services opened a substance-exposed newborn case, even though all tests came back negative, and they told me that if I wouldn't stop posting on social media, I would never see my daughter again. I started to connect how I was adopted as an infant and then sold throughout my childhood, how many other children who have been through the adoption, foster, and CPS pipelines have also been trafficked to Epstein's Elk.
And as many of you guys know already, based on the work that we do at the Karis Project, I'm an American Indian born in Canada under the J Treaty. My father and I were exposed in the improper contagion mitigation for the COVID pandemic in early 2020. As a result of this, I lost everything: a house, cars, corporate assets, jobs. Bank accounts were shut down in Canada, and I fled to the US as an American Indian, fully documented, and was trafficked by rogue agents in ICE and other agents in the government, and forced to live with single American men. I was even imprisoned for 7 months initially, and then trafficked throughout the states. Put on full surveillance tracking and wasn't allowed to leave the city house or state without permission or work without permission. And that happened for many years, and I was on and off the streets because of that, and in and out of shelters. And that is just a small example of what many go through in this trafficking system, be it the family courts or otherwise. So that's why the Karis Project will be going to DC to speak with representatives and do live reporting. We're also going to be in contact with other families who are dealing with human trafficking, and through the CPS courts or through any other means, lesser versions of trafficking, and doing reporting on them live and otherwise. We will also be working on we ultimately want to shine light on what's going on with the trafficking here in the US. And we also want to meet with various agencies in DC, and we'll be going back and forth for training sessions and other things so that we can be better equipped to help people deal with resolving some of the issues that we're seeing. We will also be putting forth petitions in government to help people get justice, and that's something that we have been working on already so far. We have some petitions that have recently been filed in the state of Colorado, Michigan, Texas, and Arizona, and we will be continuing.
But we can't do this on our own. We will be traveling to events and training courses, as well as DC on a consistent basis. We also have to get acceptable equipment, such as computers, cameras, interview gear, etc. There will be other miscellaneous costs that would also be like gas, food, and rooms if necessary.
So that is why we are working towards combating human trafficking, and that is exactly why we need your help. We cannot do this alone, and most what the Caris Project does is on its own dime. And so we do love and appreciate each and every one of you that support us and all the work that we do. As many of you know, we also live stream on Lindell TV every day. And everything we do, like I said, is on our own dime. So we appreciate all the love and support and all the people who do donate. And we would very much love and appreciate that still. Thank you everybody for your time and considerations. And thank you for all the support. And we will catch you guys in the next one, and hopefully we might see you guys in the future and come across you and maybe be able to do some great things together.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Caris Project podcast. We are back here on episode 86 of The Matrix Reloaded, The Glitch in the Matrix, and we are now talking about some of the issues about the unfairness of life, and some of it is just the way life is, and some of it is heavily manipulated, and a lot of it's coming through from the government and the things that they're allowing to happen. So you want to come in and say a couple of words before we get into it?
I mean, life's not fair, isn't it? I don't know. Like, we are kind of living in a delusion. Well, the government is creating a lot of circumstances, but we're also living in part of this delusion, because women are thinking that they don't need men and they can be men. I was actually thinking that while we were like going to break with the advertisement, whatever. Men and women need each other, but it's harder on women, I think, being without a man than vice versa. I don't know, I'm not a man, but yeah, I think a lot of these problems is because women don't want to like humble themselves and confess like how hard, like they think if they don't confess then they have the power in their hand. Like if they act like they don't need a man, and then all of a sudden they have the power and everything is going to go their way, and now they can go in society and do whatever. Like the girl said, oh, like my body, I can do whatever I want, and I need the power, but it doesn't give us power. Like it makes us more weak and more vulnerable, and it's so sad. It's so traumatizing, because women, they act like that because they feel the burden, they feel the weight of like how difficult life is when men are not around and not giving them solutions, and then they try to like make these weird solutions that they know are not solutions to feel better. And you know, like all of this stuff that we're watching in the clips, like it's like it's affecting me. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm just saying, like you can feel like, I don't know if you understand. It's making sense.
Yes, because there's a lot of situations where women are going to be in, and they're not going to see the same thing as men are, and men are designed to help in these situations where women are not, and then it puts more stress on the women trying to get out of these situations. This is why they
can tell though. Just why you need them what?
That's why they need to work together. Like there's no other way.
You can tell though when a woman doesn't have a man around. You can tell when she starts having a man around because her behavior and her mindset's going to change completely, like her actions and everything.
Yes,
like
it is.
She's more calm. So it's like these women, what they're talking about in those other previous clips, it's like low key, it's why our society is so messed up. Like you said before in the other thing, that the Matrix only lives because the feminism.
Yes. So let's go ahead and look at a couple of more clips here, and we'll discuss them. This one is nasty, but you got to hear it.
I'm going down this rabbit hole of Reddit comments by a senior community manager, a senior manager at MindGeek. And in one of them, somebody on Reddit is saying, help, like I just found child sexual abuse, child pornography all over Pornhub. What do I do? And her response is, you don't need to report it to the authorities. Just send it to us. They were not reporting it to authorities. And this was also confirmed in depositions that were taken in legal discovery and child sex trafficking cases, confirmed by MindGeek employees themselves. Imagine how many kids could have been saved from those situations of abuse if all those years they had been reporting like they should have been reporting. That was required by law for them to be reporting. How many kids would not have to had spent their life in situations of abuse if they had been doing that?
Yes, and that's what people are talking about. Like, I mean, this is like, I mean, yeah, I don't even know what to say. So
that's crazy.
Yes, it is. Right now, yes. So this is what they're telling the people that were in there, that they don't need to report it to the authorities, just bring it to us. And then they had their people that take it down that were there, that were way understaffed and they were way behind. It was impossible for them to get it all down with all the stuff that was getting flagged. So they're telling them to just let us handle it, tell it to us. And it stayed up there for a long time. And she said, even previously, she said in another video, that it took them 7 months to take it down.
Months, yeah, with the other little boy.
This is after they were getting penalties. Now, we're going to go back and listen to another clip that we've listened to before. But now when you hear all of these things in light of this, you listen to these two women. These two women are very smart. And you listen to what they have to say. They were in this industry. And listen to what they're saying. And just remember what you're talking about, the difference between the men and women.
But they didn't take the boy's thing down at all? He just stayed there, even after the 7 months?
No, they took it down, but I mean, it took them 7 months to get it down, right? Of somebody who was raped and there was charges and everything else like this, right? 7 months. That's unacceptable. But listen to what these two women have to say. Very intelligent women, but listen.
I digress. But the thing that led me to do those other scenes was because I no longer wanted to be a part of that whole, I want to be careful of the words I use on your broadcast, family oriented and pretend
incestual.
Yes.
We're implying incestual activity. And you know what? No stepmom likes it, and it's just gross. And it also leads to the feedback on social media where people call me mommy, and it grosses me out. Why would you want to have sex with your mom? Like, that's what I say to them back. Like, why are you doing this? It's so gross. Mommy, will you be my stepmom? Oh, ew. Like, it's just a confusing. Why do you want to have sex with the same woman your dad has sex with? Like, it just became this. And the ick that I and you, that we both experienced firsthand, I, at that time, didn't know how it was going to read to the rest of the world. Even though I'm a forward thinker, I did not know that I would be getting 1,000 responses each time I go on an IG live about me being somebody's mom or stepmom or people calling me mommy. Like, I did not even see that coming. And it's just gross and weird.
I agree. I totally agree with you. And I think what's even more damaging than the family-oriented scenes is the scenes in which the talent is made deliberately to look too young. They're not. And I need to make that clear to everybody who's watching this broadcast. Everyone's age has been verified. And sometimes if they really do look very young, and they're at a new studio, they're verified with a newspaper and their driver's license and a birth certificate. So none of these people performing are actually underage, but they're deliberately made to look underage in order to appeal to a certain crowd who's going to be buying this material. And when that became a very normal thing, when I would get a script to go to work, I said, I don't want to be entertaining people who are sexually aroused by a male or female looking like a child. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be known for that. I don't want to be the reason somebody can't find an adult scene with an underage looking talent and they decide to go find an underage or actual underage person to satisfy that need. I don't want to be the reason somebody does that. And it was when that became a mindset that I'm actually harming children, potentially harming children by producing this sort of entertainment. I said, I'm out. This is all you guys are making now because it's what people are paying for. I can't do this anymore. So you guys, you have at that.
I completely agree with you. And I also had experiences when I had my agency where it was the girls that were, in the early 20s, but they would say like, I don't want to be put in pigtails on set because they did look super young. And they're like, I also don't want to have sex with somebody my parents' age. So they had feelings about it, right? But when you're new in the industry, if you don't have somebody behind you, or that's all the work you're going to get offered. And so that layer was really uncomfortable for me. I did a couple of scenes where I tried them once and then I realized if I do something that I don't want to promote and I don't want to sell, take out to a trade show or at that time to a club, then I shouldn't be doing it, right?
Right.
It's not enough money to change my life to put me out there in that way. And so there was that layer, but then there was also this really aggressive content that if I wasn't getting hired to shoot a mommy, stepmom, disgusting family oriented scene, I was getting hired for something that was a lot more extreme than just what my sexual preference is. And let me say this, I am not kink shaming anyone. I'm not saying if you like that, that's wrong. But the choking, the spitting, the violence towards women, which was never present when I got in the business in the 90s because it just wasn't legal, has led to a confusion for young people. And I'm working with a program that went down and interviewed a bunch of young people at a music festival. When I say young, 18 to 35. And every girl said she had been surprised, slapped across her face during sex, surprised, choked during sex. Guys admitted they choked their girlfriends and it ruined the entire experience. So that layer as well, I was looking at both sides. I'm like, okay, like none of this does it for me. And what are we doing? Because what we're doing on set mimics something, but there's been accidental deaths in the United States while people are strangling during sex.
So that now starts to make a lot more sense when you began to look at what they were doing at Pornhub. Right? Sorry, you look like you had something you were going to say.
Oh man, that's just messed up.
Yes. So while they're allowing children to get raped and not taking down the content and telling them to do this, they're also then driving the industry for them to get people to start seeing underage people that may not be underage, like you're saying, but they are made to look like they're underage, and getting off on this and going on to this incestual relationship with stepmommy and child, right? Stepchild, to make them look like they're young. This is, you can see where they're teaching this and trending to pedophilia.
I wonder where, because remember we saw the statistics went up of children abuse when mothers left the house. I wonder how much less of this would happen if women stayed home with their children and actually watched the children, or like homeschool them and stuff like that. Like how much access would people have available to do this stuff to kids? Probably a lot less. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen at all. I'm just saying sorry, it would probably happen a lot less.
Of course it would, because of
what mom would be guiding them.
Well, what are they doing? Like, I mean, honestly, what are they like? This
the
is
amount of access that children have to this is insane. Like, it's like you have no parents in the home like protecting your kids. It's like,
but then you think about it. The kids are getting widespread access to porn. They're watching violent porn. They're watching children being raped. They're getting groomed in school.
Yeah.
Right? With this transgender agenda, they're sexualizing them. They're allowing no questions asked abortions. Like, I mean, they like 12-year-old kid can go in there and
that's what the girl said in the whatever podcast. She after she mentioned the 11-year-old so old, she said, okay, well, let's talk about the abortion no questions asked. I don't remember how she said it, but she talked about that directly after. So maybe she actually made a correlation somehow.
Yes, about them exploring, and then they have sex at that age, and then they get pregnant, and then but they shouldn't be doing this. That shouldn't happen. But why is this happening? Because they're driving this to people. Now let's go. What? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, actually, and like how you mentioned with abortion, a lot of times, and because women actually don't have solutions when they're in position, like you said, the having sex at an early age and the abortions and the access or whatever, a lot of women, they will, under pressure, they'll make a decision that is wrong. They might even know it's wrong, but they're like, I don't know what else to do, so I'm just going to accept that I'm going to do the wrong thing. They'll feel guilty, and then they'll have to do something else to fix the guilt or to cover up the guilt, and they'll perpetually keep failing because they have no idea what the actual solution is. And they put the people are creating the circumstances to put these different things in the path of women doing these things or in these positions. I thought of that when you said that just now, because I see that every day.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, that's I see that problem every day. Like, and it is what it is. That's mentality.
Remember that Lisa Ann said that she's a forward thinker, but she didn't see this coming.
That's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about.
But when sorry, go ahead.
No, like that's my very point. Like, they're not going to see that until they get to that point. And when they get to that point, then they're like, oh, I have to do something to cover this because, like, I now see that this is messed up. Or maybe they saw it was messed up. These two said they didn't, so that's different. But someone might saw it and still did it because they don't see a different solution. And then they saw, and then they're like, oh, I just realized this, and now I have to do something else. They'll feel bad about it, and then they're like, oh, what's the other way out? But remember, they said they couldn't go out because they had people relying on them financially, so they had to find different ways to be creative about it. So it's like the circumstances are already there, that by the time that they're kind of, so to speak, trapped in a bad situation, for them to keep making bad decisions or decisions that are less than favorable, and then you feel like maybe a failure in some sense, and then you repeat certain cycles and certain patterns because you're like, okay, well, I already failed, so I might as well just keep failing in this area or whatever until I can find. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yes, I see that. But when I sit down and I look at what she was saying, and she's like, I'm a forward thinker, but I couldn't see this. I looked at this and looked at this and I was like, I know what these people are doing. Like, it was
that's just what makes.
Yes.
It was just what?
I looked at it and I was like, I know what these people are doing. I could see it. I'm like, this is where they're going. This was what they were doing. But this is the difference between men and women in how they see these things, because these are men that are setting this up, and I can see their handiwork in it, right? Like, I see male pattern actions that are putting this together.
That's why women get irritated and they get really upset, because they don't see those things until it slaps them in the face. And this is where women like really need men, because that type of mistake can be very detrimental, because like she said, she could be responsible for helping other children get hurt because of the content that she was doing, and she had to, when she realized that, she had to stop. And by that time, once you realize it's too late. If you have something like that on your conscience, oh my gosh, So it's good that she was able to get out. But the point is, like, this is why women end up becoming more cold and more callous and more heartless and more evil. Not Allura, or Elizabeth now. She was Allura before, but Elizabeth now. The people who are in this still, because not in that particular industry, I'm talking about women in general in society, because when you don't confess the hard thing that, yes, I need a man, I need his assistance, I need his guidance and leadership, you end up just rejecting the fact that you're not seeing these things. And when you do get face to face with what Elizabeth came face to face with, that she might potentially be hurting children, they double down and they're like, you know what? I'm just going to do something to cover up this guilty feeling because I made a mistake that I didn't realize. And then I'm going to do something bad to make myself feel better about making the bad mistake, and then keep failing and failing and failing. And then you'll do something good, and then you'll fail and fail and fail.
And I watched women justify it as well. I watched.
That's what I'm talking about. And justify. They know that at that point, they know, they're just like, you know what? It is what it is.
Yes.
Like, it is what it is. I just have to live this way, and it's just who I am, and there's nothing I can do about it because it's just going to be me.
So now I want to come in and I want to grab a couple of other clips. We're going to listen to Dr. Makis, so he exposed something, but then I'm going to want you to listen to after how Danielle Smith acknowledges this. So listen to what he says, and then we'll play what she says.
There's some breaking news. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has acknowledged for the first time that there is a serious pedophile problem at the highest levels of some of our institutions here in Alberta, including Alberta Health Services and the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta. In 2021, the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta gave medical licenses back to 2 pedophiles who had been arrested by RCMP for sex crimes against children, young girls as young as 5 and 6 years old. These guys were arrested for possession and distribution of child pornography. The college gave them their licenses back while simultaneously they were stripping the medical licenses of doctors who were treating their COVID patients successfully with ivermectin, doctors like Dr. Daniel Nagase. Even yesterday, Alberta's media, like the Edmonton Journal, came out in defense of these child sex abusers, running a hit piece on me and attacking me, trying to smear me and damage my reputation for pointing out the pedophile problem in Alberta. Just before she retired a few months ago, the now disgraced former Alberta Premier Rachel Notley came out publicly in defense of child sex abusers, stating on the record that the NDP stands with child predators and child pornographers and against child victims. But we now have acknowledgement from Alberta Premier Danielle Smith that she is aware of the situation of sex crimes against children that are being committed by some of the elites of this province, including Alberta Health Services executives. Folks, I bring receipts, and I'm going to keep bringing receipts. And when it comes to crimes against children, I'm not going to be silent. I'm going to be yelling these crimes from the rooftops. I'm not going to be silenced by the corrupt, rotten Alberta media, and I'm certainly not going to be silenced by NDP MLAs and former Alberta premiers on the left who stand with child sex abusers.
Yes, and so they've been hanging out Dr. Makis to dry as a result, because he's been exposing the pedophiles that were being shielded by the Alberta government, right? And so this is what our government is doing. And so I'm going to bring up the clip here of Danielle Smith's response before we go ahead. So let's listen to what Danielle Smith says when he talks about after he exposed the pedophiles.
Hello, my concern has to do with the receipts that Dr. William Makis brought about the AHS and the pedophilia problem. And I'm wondering if you would be willing to commit to an interview with Dr. William Makis to discuss that issue.
What I can say is I know that one of the doctors he raised a concern about went through legal proceedings in British Columbia and was found guilty, and I believe is being sentenced. And so these are the kind of things that for the credible claims, they have to go through a legal process. And he has raised, I think, some obviously concerns that have been validated, but I do have to kind of leave it to the courts to be able to adjudicate those rather than interfering in it myself. But I took what he said, I looked into it, and it does look like there have been a couple that are going through that process now.
I just want your thoughts on her acknowledgement there, Keisha, from a woman's perspective of what Danielle Smith said.
Yeah, I missed some of it. I'm not gonna lie. My thing was having issues.
She stumbled across her words and she was stammering like crazy. I can play it back again if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, here, let me just get that back here. It's terrible. I'll let you watch it again here.
Hello, my concern has to do with the receipts that Dr. William Mancus brought about the AHS and the pedophilia problem. And I'm wondering if you would be willing to commit to an interview with Dr. William Mancus to discuss that issue.
What I can say is I know that one of the doctors he raised a concern about went through legal proceedings in British Columbia and was found guilty, and I believe is being sentenced. And so these are the kind of things that, for the credible claims, they have to go through a legal process. And he has raised, I think, some obviously concerns that have been validated, but I do have to kind of leave it to the courts to be able to adjudicate those rather than interfering in it myself. But I took what he said, I looked into it, and it does look like there have been a couple that are going through that process now.
Hello,
What is wrong with her? First of all, did she just assume his gender? She said he, like she believes in that trans nonsense. Anyways, Danielle Smith is, man, she's messed up for that, honestly, because what do you mean? You're taking an interview with someone right now talking about it. You can't take an interview with Dr. William Mancus and say the same thing to him about what you just said about the courts and whatever else. Like, she said that he had valid points because the people he raised concerns about were convicted pedophiles. And she deferred and said, oh, British Columbia, not mentioning the fact that they had transferred the guy to British Columbia and given him a higher position to alleviate him from the suffering of the legal problems he would have been having in Alberta, so he could continue to rape and have access to children in BC, because the job he gave them a higher position in was more access to children, might I add. He was the head minister. So it's like, why, for health or something. So why, honestly, she investigate and lock her up, throw away the key. I'm sick of this lady. Because how are you going to sit down and do that? Like, what do you mean?
Yes.
What do you mean? Like,
yes.
I'm going to leave it to the courts. The courts said the man was guilty. What do you mean interfere with it? You can't talk, even if you can't talk about the other ones, talk about the man that was guilty and come on and say, you know what, this was a problem.
But it was more than that, because the people in Alberta Health Services were still getting access to children, and they were already convicted, and they were protecting their licenses. So what do you mean? Fire them.
Well, exactly the point.
But the way that she stammered around there, I was just like, I don't even care what you say. And when he asked, would you want to talk to Dr. Mancus to have an interview with him? She just walked around it and ignored it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Well, that's why I'm saying, why wouldn't she this or whatever that? I'm saying it's very clear, like, she doesn't care. She doesn't want to have that conversation with him. She doesn't.
No.
She's going to get steamrolled and she's going to get exposed, and she just wants to defer and avoid it. And that's.
Yes.
I'm sick of this. Like a man couldn't give an answer like that. I'm sorry. The way that women get away with saying answers like this publicly on stage, because if a man came on stage and said some filth like that,
They would
do you think
destroy
for a
him.
second that if Trump went on stage and said, you know what, yeah, they convicted these people have been convicted pedophiles in the state over,
That
one state over from me,
that's like
and
Joe
they would
Biden.
throw him up. But they would string him up. They'd be asking
Exactly.
death penalty and investigations for the man. They would be like, we need to know what he ate for dinner last night and what he flushed in the
Yes.
toilet.
Yes.
Like,
yes. Anyway, let's take sorry, just finish your thought there, and we'll take a commercial break after this.
I'm just saying she fully needs to be investigated. Like, she won't even have a discuss. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. So let's just come back, hear from Mike Lindell.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupted this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
All right, so if you need any of the MyPillow products, go to mypillow.com/Karis or call 800-845-2942. Use promo code Karis. And you can see all the other things at the in the ticker below to come and support, get some pillow products for yourself and support a good cause. And so this is where we're trending in this whole situation. And when you're looking at the way the government is acting towards pedophiles and they're grooming people in schools and so forth, you can see where this is going. We're going to put up another clip here. This is Layla Mickelwaite. She's also talking a little bit more about Pornhub. So let's hear what she has to say on this clip.
Pornhub was not a porn site. It was a crime scene infested with videos of real sexual crime. And the crime that gets distributed, it's one thing for a victim to be raped. But when that's filmed and then uploaded and then distributed for profit and pleasure to millions of users per day, they call it the immortalization of their trauma, where they'll never be able to get over that because it's going to get just like the sadistic game of whack-a-mole. They just have to keep finding it and begging and trying to take it down and again and again. And victims of this kind of abuse, we call it image-based sexual abuse, all the way from child rape to adult rape and trafficking and what we used to call revenge porn. They have a 50% ideation rate for suicide. So this is really a life and death issue. So we felt from the beginning that the call to action here was to shut down Pornhub because we felt like that was, severe harm demands severe consequence.
So, I mean,
yeah, the Bible says raping someone is worse than rising up and slaying your brother.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
yes, it is.
For like someone, it's more merciful to kill someone than to rape them. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah. I mean, this is where you can only kill them once.
It's a forever psychological torture.
Right? You can only kill them once, but then they just continue having people that they just keep raping over and over again. Right? This is
you don't even need to continue doing it over and over. The one time will cement over and over and over in their brain and in their body the rest of their life. Like it's just cemented in their brain and in their body. Like it's forever there. Like
yes. So you can sit down and look at how this dangerous mindset is. You can sit down and see how the government's role has been in helping to create this. The government is still flippantly protecting pedophiles. This is not just here in Alberta, but there's in other places. The woman in Colorado who got jailed and they wanted to put her in jail for 8 years for protecting her kids from a pedophile. You're seeing more people getting jailed for trying to protect their kids from pedophiles, getting punished to protect their kids from pedophiles. The government is acting in a predatory manner. You're watching them push pornography that is now driving people to pedophilia. Now they're getting it into the hands of children because they're getting unfettered access to it. And then you're going to sit down and we're going to listen to, like, this woman talked about how they did. Go ahead.
But they're doing all that while simultaneously putting all these famous autistic and fetal alcohol syndrome men and women who will push degeneracy to everyone else, which will actually feed the pornography and the abuse and the trafficking as well, because they also don't know the solution. Like, for example, what's that girl, Glorilla? She looks like she has fetal alcohol syndrome. The Snow White girl, she looks like she has it. The Queen's Gambit girl looks like she has it. Like, everybody. And then the people who do the talking points on the podcast, like whatever podcast, autistic. Now, am I saying that all autistic people are, whatever? No. But there's a level of incapacitation there that they won't be able to do
diminished capacity and easier to
a diminished capacity. And they're easier to manipulate to get what someone else wants and to do certain things. And when Brian crashes out, he crashes out, man. Like, I don't even crash out the way Brian crashes out, and I'm a woman, and I sat on that thing with the same neutral, like, monotone not attitude, but like demeanor for 8 hours and a half or something, or on his show when we have the Christian panel girls come on, and it only takes one girl's stupid comment to rile him up in an instant, and when he snaps, he snaps. Like, and that's an autistic kind of thing. So it's like the emotional regulation. So, what I'm seeing is all of this is feeding each other, because what you're talking about, all these people, like that thing that you just outlined, and then on top of it, the people leading the charge that everyone is listening to is also autistic.
Yes, and we need to get through a couple clips before we wrap up. But I want people to listen to this one here of what Layla talks about with Pornhub and some of their other sites that they own.
They exploit and they harvest the data of every single user that visits their site. They're currently being sued in a class action for the exploitation of user data. So they already do that. But you pointed out that because they own pay sites as well, these subscription sites, they already age verify on those sites, right? Because you have to have a credit card to access the site. So they have no problem getting the personally identifying information, the name, the credit card, the address of people for their paid sites. But they suddenly have a problem with age verification with their free sites, because their free sites depend on frictionless traffic to the sites to sell ad impressions. So I just want to point out the flawed logic that they're using in that case, and point out the fact that it's a lie, that this is really about privacy when it's really about money.
So they have the ability to age verify on their other sites, and they know that without age verification, and this is one thing that I'll tell you right now, they have a risk management team, and they assess risk and analyze risk. They know that this will get into the hands of children. They know what's going to happen, because you have to analyze and mitigate that risk. You have to think about what is possible and what is the potential outcome if that thing happens. It's not, do you think it'll happen or not? You're like, is it possible to happen? This is how risk analysis takes place. You have to think of every possibility and then think about the likelihood of that possibility, of that thing happening, and then taking steps to make sure that those things don't happen. And especially when it comes down to human beings, you have to make sure that that risk is down to a minimal. And when kids are getting raped on top of these things, you can't tell me that the risk management does not know that what their model is going to do is going to happen. You're lying 100%. So there are people that know fully well what's going on. And when you're looking at the way that the school is indoctrinating, people are starting to they're giving them license to do things. They're pushing them and saying that you can sexualize, no boundaries, and everything else like that. And you're having a mindset of groomers in the schools. Now you're going to understand why this is happening in our schools.
A former Tipton County teacher is sentenced for disturbing child sex crimes. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Hurst. Stephanie is off tonight. WRG's Alan Self has the latest on Alyssa McCommon's guilty plea and sentencing.
Alyssa McCommon pleaded guilty to multiple felony charges, including rape of a child, statutory rape, and sexual exploitation of minors. Today, she received a 25-year sentence with no parole, followed by lifetime community supervision as a violent sex offender. In a heartbreaking courtroom moment, prosecutors revealed 5 victims testified against their former 5th grade teacher. McCommon had befriended their mothers to gain their trust, exploiting her position of authority.
Because they knew her, obviously their guard was down. This isn't one of those stranger danger cases where you're, worried about the strangers at the end of the playground staring at you. As your actual teacher that was preying on her former students.
Prosecutors stressed their team remained committed to seeking justice for the victims, acknowledging the equality of all sexual abuse cases.
I do believe there is a double standard with society. I do believe that it is viewed differently when a male is the predator versus a female predator. However, with that said, our office looks at these cases the same, and whether it's a male or a female defendant, we prosecute them the same and we take the same stance.
The victims' ages range from 12 to 17 at the time. In court, one of the mothers spoke to McCommon, saying, "I loved you like family, opened my doors to you. You used my friendship to hurt me and the people I love. Your mind is sick and twisted for looking at a child and being turned on." The former teacher called one of the victims nearly 200 times, played video games with him, and sent explicit photos via Snapchat. In one of the messages, she threatened to kill herself if he broke off the relationship. She also told him she was pregnant by him, which was later confirmed via DNA. His mother testified in court, saying, quote, "The innocent child will be loved and raised without your influence. There's no amount of time they can give you that will equal what God will give you. You will burn in hell." For your news leader, I'm Alan Self, WREG News Channel 3.
Now, the court also revoked McCommon's teaching license, and she must register as a violent sex offender for life.
This is crazy, man. That's disgusting, man. Like, honestly, man, like, I don't even know. I don't even know. Like, I was thinking the same thing today. Like, I saw something, I think, on X or whatever. And then I was thinking to myself, like, I saw, like, maybe a post about it. And I was like, how do people look at children? And they're attracted to children. Like, when you just see how, like, innocent and happy little kids are, even if the kids are not happy, they're sad kids. Like, how does your mind even turn a left? Like, you have to be possessed by the devil himself. Like, you have to be like an evil person. And you're so, like, she's sick. It's a sick that, like, I thank God I cannot understand, but it's a sick. Like, it's fully a sick.
But you have to understand how they're doing this. There's a lot of grooming involved, and this whole like empowerment is like making them feel good about this. Predators have sex for power, right? And then they're taking away the consequences for actions. They're pushing the women to go in and say that they need to become more like men and more aggressive. Which men are not aggressive. When men are aggressive, that's a bad thing. That means he has no control. And when the women are becoming more aggressive, they're pushing the boundaries. Then you're going to allow the women that go into those places they said that women and men are not look the same. So the women are getting less time. They're not even getting caught a lot of the times. So they're going to go in and they're going to molest more boys. Those boys are going to go in and turn and act out, but they're getting more pornography as they're younger. So you're going to get more boys that have no boundaries. and then they're going to be crushed, and they're going to start doing things that they shouldn't be doing. They're going to expose them to violent porn. By the time they're going out to have sex with these girls, they're going to start destroying them. The court companies are then again now pushing it to normalize going after children, like making them look like they're underage. You got companies like Pornhub that are protecting and keeping children being raped and being protected in Canada. Then you have the government of Canada that's involved in the drug trafficking. When you saw those people on the streets in Vancouver, it's easier to take their children to get them destroyed so that they can start doing this kind of filth. And you see how this just keeps going and going and going. And the government is creating the circumstances for more of that trafficking. Right? This is horrific. This is absolutely horrific. And then you can understand why Danielle Smith is protecting pedophiles in Alberta.
She's a criminal.
Yes. Yes. Because there's no excuse for this.
Like, no.
And you wonder why Pornhub isn't getting criminally prosecuted in Canada. Because the government was involved in the drug trafficking, right? Children's getting paid by cartels. What do you think happens with drug trafficking? Sex trafficking, right? And so these guys that got their hands in the government, and you see these guys buying this stuff, and they're pushing it, and they want to get more traffic. They don't care what it is, and they're driving the industry for people who are going to be pedophiles. That's disgusting. They want to.
Well, it goes both ways. They want to what?
They're grooming people for pedophilia. You don't do this for money. I'm sorry, you don't.
No, you don't.
And
it's both ways. The men to the little girls and the women to the little boys. But
yes,
little boys seem like people are on a rampage for little boys. It's sick. Like it seems like every week there's a new teacher abusing little boys in school. Like I just don't understand it.
They need to have the little boys broken so that they won't stand up and do anything and leave the women in that situation. This is why they give the female pedophiles pretty much a pass so that they can keep going and destroying more men. And then those men won't be able to, they're so broken they won't be able to protect the women.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yes, it is. It's disgusting.
And when that's not happening, they have the broken homes doing it. So that's like destroying the mind of the single moms and doing the boy mom filth. That's crazy, man.
And now you can understand why the Canadian government doesn't have anything to do with touching the fentanyl. Why they don't want to do anything, because they're acting like pedophiles, because a lot of them are. Justin Trudeau had an NDA with a girl that was like 15 years old or less when he was a teacher, right?
Or something.
And so forth. And then you're looking at all these other people that they're associated with that are pedophiles. And from what I hear, Carney's, they have pictures of him online chumming with Ghislaine Maxwell and so forth. So, I mean, these guys, no, man. You got to face facts and reality of what's going on. The government here isn't getting paid by cartel. They're controlled by China. They're allowing children to get raped on Pornhub and other places without prosecution. Canada, over 90% of the trafficking victims in Canada are Canadians. People are coming here to traffic. This is way off base, right? You think Epstein's Island is bad? They're doing stuff like that here. They're letting kids getting raped and putting up online with the protection of the government. And they're throwing it flippantly in your face. You go into Alberta, and Danielle Smith is protecting pedophiles, and then she gives this weak acknowledgement to Macus, and what does she do? Did she fire them? No?
No.
Oh, well, we just have to let the justice system do it. No, you have control over the justice system.
She
right?
never even said that she was sad for the families whose child was abused, even though she confessed that he was convicted. Where's your remorse for the families of the of the children and the children themselves who've been raped? Like what in the
This
man,
this
I
is
don't know, man. Like I don't know. Like I couldn't hear that in front of my face. That's all I can say. I couldn't hear that in earshot, like in walking distance. I
that
couldn't hear that.
yes,
Like
and
I don't know how the people sitting next to her listened to that in breathing distance. Like I don't know, man. I don't
that's
know.
really it. And so, I mean, this is where, I mean, I'm going to close here with a prayer. We run up on time, but this is really where we're at, and I'll give you your final thoughts. So let's close this here. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for the hope that you have given us this day. And Father, I ask of you to bring the men and the women together to humble themselves before God, that we could rebuild our families, our churches, our community, our nation, that we could have some peace and some semblance of safety for the children from this evil wickedness that is going on, is my prayer. Until you finish the work and see you coming in the clouds. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks for your prayers always, Dad. Yeah, guys, this is mad. I don't know, man. We need to go back to some semblance of tradition, like not like just do things just because. I mean, like old way of doing things with like principle and like structure and family, like respecting men, the authority of men, and working together with men being men, women being women, working together in unity to like get some of these things done, because what we have right now is not working on any level of anything, and the children are suffering the most, and our society's in shambles. I don't know, I'm overwhelmed just thinking about this. Like I said, I'm a woman, and I don't have solutions. I just see this stuff and I get angry because I don't have solutions, which makes me wonder like what men are thinking. Anyway, you guys get the point, man. Men need to be men, women need to be women. This is crazy. This is actually crazy. God forbid. I hope when I have my children I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Honestly, I know everyone hates like those kind of things, but I hope I'm in the country. I can't with the city and what our countries are doing right now. This is mad. Canada needs consequences. I don't know. I need a bounce. Thanks, guys, for your time and considerations today. We'll catch you in the next one. And to my dearest Karis, until we meet again, my friend, ciao.